Morning, Chris.
Anthony, how are you on a fine Thursday morning here in
I,
Colorado?
I'm very much looking forward to today's episode where it's very meta. Like we strive to help founders, and this is about why other people should do what we're doing. So I guess it's narcissistic. Maybe we're just full of ourselves. Maybe we're not servants. Maybe we're just egomaniac narcissists. Which
I mean, it's kind of true. The reason that we do this is really because we like to learn about this. Hopefully somebody else learns along the way, but it's all about us, Anthony. It's always about us. Anthony, I told you I met a really lovely mom the other day. She's a lovely person, and she had two identical twins, Amal and Juan. And lovely, but she only carried a picture in her wallet of just Juan. I said, why do you only carry a picture of just? And she goes, well, when you've seen Juan, you've seen them all.
I knew exactly where it was going, and I was hoping you wouldn't finish it.
Oh man, I've been sitting on that one.
You should have stayed sat on it.
Last episode on the what do you call fish with no eyes?
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty good. Anthony, why do most founders treat their entrepreneurs like threats instead of multipliers? I mean, it's a great question. According to a 2023 study by the Kauffman Foundation, entrepreneurs who actively mentor or support other founders are 40% more likely to successful exits compared to those that operate in isolation. Sarah Blakely, unbelievable badass founder of Spanx, secretly funded 12 other female entrepreneur businesses before revealing she had been an anonymous investor for 3 years. When confronted about this unusual strategy, Blakely admitted, I figured if I can make other women rich, they'd eventually make me richer. Turns out I was terrible at math, but great at karma. Hey, Anthony, on How to Founder, we're going to be talking about something you and I care deeply about. It's helping other founders. I'm Chris Franks. With me is the surly, grumpy, but always willing to come at least chuckle at my dad jokes. No, you're not even chuckling at my dad jokes anymore, really.
No, I'm willing to roll my eyes at your dad jokes, just like you do for me, Chris.
Luckily, we have a very smart guest, and his name is Jan. And I'm going to go ahead and say his last name incredibly quickly. I'm going to say we should add him as I do this to see whether or not how close I can get to his last name. Jan van Schuppen.
There you go.
All right. Is the sales entrepreneur with over 3 decades of experience building global sales teams and founding multiple startups. He's helped bring a company to 75 million euro exit and currently runs Spades Holding, which invests in early stage startups while operating several businesses, including AI avatar development and sales coaching platforms. Jan, joining us all the way across the pond. It is so great to have you. You actually watched a full episode before you came on. I'm shocked and surprised and thrilled, Jan. From now on, we're only going to get people in Europe on the show, Anthony, because apparently they're the people that watch. We're huge in the Netherlands. Like, it's huge. It's incredible. Jan, welcome. Let's just start with the big question. Why does this matter? Why we as entrepreneurs oftentimes start to feel like there's competition out there, particularly if you're trying to fund your startup, where you don't really want to talk about your investor relationships, because you don't want them to invest their money in this company and not invest in yours. Why does it matter for us to start to bring people together and actually help each other as an entrepreneurial community?
Well, love that question, but to be perfectly honest, attaching it to the introduction, I'm a nihilist as well, so this started out totally different. I was in the lucky position where I was able to take a breather and a step back of all the rat race, if you will, which was about 2 years ago. And then I figured, let's see how other founders, entrepreneurs, I was not sure what I would start next. So you do some studying and you read some books. You dive into what other founders are doing. And at that time, when AI, well, ChatGPT had just been launched, but it isn't the frenzy which it is today. But 2 years ago, the news of today was you need to be an extreme good social media marketeer if you want to be an entrepreneur at all. If you don't
build your own brand,
there you go. So I started looking into that. I even did some coaching groups myself, finished YouTube, read a few books, and then I figured out that all these people that talk about entrepreneurship, they are great marketeers, but they have no idea what they're either talking about or they're not really entrepreneurs. So I figured I'd build it myself.
That cuts a little deep.
I'm not crying. You're crying, Anthony.
And then while I do so, I'll find some people that are really skillful, and I'll give them my machine, which then does either PR or social media or building partnerships or building revenue systems. So that somebody that's really good in a particular skill, I rather help that one than teach a YouTube star how to actually close in conversation. So I took it the other way around, and I figured there's quite a few entrepreneurs and startup founders that are very product driven, but they've never had a sales conversation in their life. They're afraid to pick up the phone. They're afraid to hear no. So I figured, let me start there and let me teach what I know when it comes to sales.
Anthony, this is a fun one because I think you and I get to weigh in here a little bit as well, because this is something that you and I do a lot of. It's just helping other founders. But I don't know that I'm asking this question just bluntly. Why? Why do you do it? Why do you help founders?
There's something. I'll refer back to something Chris Rock said on. So I'm thinking about this this episode of Comedians in Cars with Coffee, and Jerry Seinfeld and Chris were talking about them at parties and being very awkward and uncomfortable and socially inept at parties until they saw another comedian, and then they went over and went, comedian, like they were like, oh, somebody I talked to, and I think there's a lot actually that's similar with comics and entrepreneurs, and that it's incredibly lonely, and the judgment is almost immediate on whether or not you've launched something that is good or bad. And so I think I don't have a lot to talk about with anybody but entrepreneurs. So for me, it's just so I get to talk to other folks that see the world through the same broken glasses that I do.
I think it's a pretty good one. It's the broken glasses. Yeah. Kind of, yeah. I think that the other piece.
No, but
of this
I recognized a lot the loneliness. A lot of founders that I speak with, or entrepreneurs, especially in the last few years, they've all been told to just have an automation flow which they can sell 1,000 times and they'll have passive income, and they think this is building a business. But there's a lot of them out there. So
these are people trying to sell something.
True, but they have not all of them have a real skill, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So the ones that do have skills, and I can give them some of my experience. You can sometimes even literally see their eyes open, like, oh my God, I can do that. I can actually ask for a signature on a contract. So there's quite some room for improvement under startup founders.
One of the things that's really funny about this group of humans is that you almost have to pretend like you know what you're doing all the time. Like, you're the founder, you've got the answers, you're trying to hire people, you're trying to get investors, you're trying to sell. But the reality is that we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're making it up as we go along. And it's like this strange thing where we need other founders to be like, how do you actually do? How do you sell, Jan? Like, I pretend I know what I'm doing because I read a pamphlet once, or, like watched a 4-minute YouTube video, but I don't really know what I'm doing. Has that been your experience, Jan?
Well, the thing I find most, and that's not only with founders, it's also with business leaders. I coach a few C-suite, for example. I coach a CEO and I coach a CTO. They have a few hours per month with me, and I come up, or my team helps me come up with a beautiful training program. But in the end, what it really boils down to is they need somebody to hold them accountable. They need somebody to tell them, hey, listen, you told me last week you were going to do this. I know it is not your core business, but if you don't do these things, then we'll know in 5 months you will not hit X, Y, Z. And there's nobody in their organization to tell them, remind them, or even tell them off. And I think there's a big role for that. People need accountability. On some aspects, I'm able to give them that.
Anthony, what about you? Like, I think it's right. People saying what you want to hear, and this is classically in the startup world, as we said, tell me my baby's ugly. You go to somebody and say, here's my business idea, here's my company, et cetera. People go, oh, it's great. And you don't really want to you actually want to hear what you're missing and what flaws do you have with that. And so, Anthony, in your experience, is that something you've found with a community of other founders?
You know this, Chris. I mean, there are certain entrepreneurs. First-time entrepreneurs want to be told that their baby's pretty. Second-time entrepreneurs struggle to find. I struggle to find somebody to me. Okay, here's what's wrong. here's where you need to think about. Here's what you're not thinking about. And the latter is such a more deeper form of love than the former. And I know, I hear a lot of investors say that they won't tell entrepreneurs negative things. I think that's a mistake. I think you need to tell entrepreneurs where, even if you're in the opportunity, even if you like the business, how can they improve it? And the entrepreneur's job, by the way, is to not take not take the criticism or the feedback personally, and not to act on all of it, but take it as a data point.
I think it's an important one. All right, so here we know, like, okay, we think it's important. We think it's important for us as humans is that we need that sense of connection. It is lonely. We need it for businesses purposes, Jan. We need those people to come and say, and to hold us accountable. We need that external person to keep pushing and nudging and believing in us. What else do we get with a community of founders? And I think this is really kind of one of the heart of my questions. Why should I, as an early stage founder that might not really have any idea of what I'm doing, why should I try to go help? I'm new to this. I don't want to, I don't know what I'm doing. Should I go out and try to offer to help other people as well? Jan, let's see, it's slow.
Yes.
Internet's out. It's on the end of the day there in Europe. So internet.
No worry. I think I got your question. I just missed the last bit, but for me, a selfish reason as well. I do this in a services for shares model. So I'll help any founder in the world in order if they give up some shares. So there is different way to go about this. We can either serve startup founders with facilities that we have, whether it's design departments or AI support. But I do a lot of personal coaching and a lot of go-to-market strategy, a lot of writing the business cases or adjusting the pricing strategy and really the commercial end of things. And I do this only with let's say a handful of selected partners, because Like for example, recently a startup approached me, and they really wanted me to go in big, and it's not really an industry I know. But then I found out their financial bookkeeping is horrible. They know where the company was registered or who owned the stocks. So I go like, yeah, guys, good luck, but that's it for me. But if I find that somebody's really eager and they have the right, because it always starts with the founder itself, never with the product or the product market fit, or really just the spark that I get from the founder. And if they're serious, if they do the things right that I can't coach them on, like good recruiting, etc., but I can get everything else for them. But then I only do that if we then exchange some kind of upside. So if I make you rich, you'll make me rich in return.
I think it's a really important question, Anthony, and let's talk about it. Because it is, for you and I, we've struggled with this a lot, which is there is a lot of just helping and showing up for founders. And then there's work. And it's like when you actually start working for other founders, and you need to start for that. And you need to be able to charge a fair value for what it is that you do. I'm terrible at this, Anthony. How do you kind of gauge this?
I don't start with monetization either, Chris. I start with how can I serve, and but yes, very quickly people can take advantage of your time, right? So, and you need to be able to earn a living. I don't know if Chris. You and I struggle with this quite a bit because we genuinely just care about founders. We want to help them, and we're not really trying to monetize our podcast, anything that we do. So I don't know if I'm the best person to like.
We need some Jan coaching for us.
No, let's flip the script because you and I both get this like ick. Like Chris, we have the same feeling on this when somebody's trying to extract money from a startup founder. It's like when like we've seen this where pitch will charge the founder $1,000 to go pitch in front of investors. We get this ick. We have this allergy to that, right? Yeah. And so but at the same point, founders do need coaches and they do need to pay for coaching. So for you and I, that's not why we get up in the morning. I don't want to start charging for the thing that I love to do. Like once you start charging for your hobby, it's no longer a hobby; it's a job. But other coaches and mentors do charge, and there's nothing wrong with either.
Yeah, Jan, help us out of this Gordian knot.
No, I love it. I love it. So first of all, we're absolutely in the same track. We're here to help other startup founders, first and foremost. And it's either this or that thing. To be a parallel approach. So I take calls half an hour in my calendar with a founder that I saw on a community who says, "Oh, I have a pricing problem." I go like, I ask my PA, find this guy, book in a 30, I'll throw some at him. I can't even remember anymore who it was. So I do these things as well. They cost me time, but I always like that Joker quote from one of the Batman movies: "If you're really good at something, never do it."
So that's probably true. That's easy, Anthony, because we're not really good at anything. So we're sort of good at a lot of things. Yeah, right.
We still do it for free, but
so that's my approach as well. I offer call it a startup package to founders, and I offer it for free. I never ask any money because I have the same feeling. These people, they don't have the money, they need help. But if I then have somebody from corporate coming to me and said, "Hey, I'd like what you do for these startup founders, I'd like that." I said, "Yeah, sure, but you pay full price."
I'm sure you double, but I'm giving this away for free. Yeah,
and that helps me again. On the flip side, again, now I can go to this founder and say, "Look what this CEO is paying me. He values this coaching at this much. So if I provide you the same coaching, but I don't charge you for it, how much equity will I get in 6 months if I actually find you an investor? Which is a fair discussion. They don't need to put up any money. If they don't grow in result, if my coaching was crap, then of course it's not like you need to sign over half your startup and then maybe I can put you in my coaching program. But it's really there. The people who can afford it, they'll pay, and the people that I'm really sympathizing with, and then they can enjoy it in exchange for some upside.
I think it's a brilliant model. I mean, just out of curiosity, asking for a friend, how's the balance? I mean, are you pretty good? Like, you got 50% equity plays, 50% cash plays? Like, how do you keep the lights on?
The thing is, I got a earnout about 2 years ago, which was very generous. But in hindsight, it was only 1% of the company. And I put in a little bit more than 1% in the end result and the valuation. So I negotiated quite a bad deal. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm a salesperson. So, I got what I asked for, and that is nobody to blame. So the 1% is something I'm staying really far away from. However, I also understand that if you go above 10%, you then make it very complicated for that founder to find the next rounding or the next round of funding. So I always try to go either 2, 2, and 2 investing, so I'll end up at 6. Or if I really need to do a lot, it's going to be 3, 3, and 3, so I'll end up at 9.
I like it. All right, so there's 2 pieces to this as we kind of dig into a little bit more of the details. And this one is offering to help. And this is, I think, Anthony, it's hard sometimes because oftentimes when I'm in the company, I don't really know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm underwater. I don't know if I can help anybody. But yet, Anthony, every single time that I showed up, even early in my entrepreneurial journey, and offered to help somebody, it gave clarity to some problem I was facing, right? I think it's, so talk me through, Anthony, yours to be like, you need to go offer to help other founders and you need to show up and support them, even if you don't feel like you really have any good answers.
Yeah. So a friend of mine, another founder, he said he
like,
puts it this way.
When you say friend and founder, we just know. We already know. Like, you don't have
fair enough. Rob, he puts it this way: it's almost like having a cardboard cutout of somebody else that you're talking to. Just the conversation helps you work through the problem. So you don't, as a mentor, you may just be asking the right questions, not even offering great advice. Just asking questions and forcing them to think through the problem out loud. Like, maybe that's all they need. They may not need advice. Like, I tell founders all the time where they'll schedule 20 minutes with me and they'll say, all right, here's my problem. And I'm like, I can't help you with, I don't have anybody to introduce you to. I don't know anything about this. I can't do that. Tell me how you're asking for this help. Tell me, like, I'll just start asking them questions and they'll work through the problem themselves. And it could have been my tilt to ask them those questions. It doesn't need to be somebody that has the experience. You just need somebody to talk to. We're communal beings, right? Chris, how do you do it? How do you work through this?
Same. I started early with trying to give answers and realized that's a terrible idea, because what seems completely and overtly obvious to me is not necessarily going to be true for them. And so, Jan, I just try to be a good listener and ask questions. Is that sort of a good approach in there?
I think so. And the way the founder world is quite small, the startup world. You have a lot of people on your show as well, but we follow each other on LinkedIn. You kind of follow the same people. You kind of know the same founders. So that perspective is quite small, if you will. But I always like to look at the startup teams rather than the founders itself. The founders is great. It's always the poster boy or girl, the key person of influence or how you want to brand them. But what I'm trying to tell people who are not a founder, also to consider work for startups, or at least work for some equity, because we all know that there's some shifts in the future when it comes to jobs and innovation influencing jobs. So if you're just on a payroll for a employer, you might be up for a surprise. And I'd like to think that if you can now, either if you're a salesperson, or if you work in marketing, or if you have some value add, find a startup team that is smart and try and negotiate some kind of involvement, rather than just thinking about getting paid for what you're worth. Finding that week-to-week paycheck. Yeah, I respect that everybody has to do groceries. We need to get money in. But the biggest struggle I find is not only the founders, because they realize they're entrepreneurial from themselves, but I think there's a very large population working that are not entrepreneurial, but they need to consider a little different setup than just the job employment that we considered so safe.
Anthony, if I ran the world, every person that's worked themselves up through some sort of a C-suite and as an executive would go spend time with founders, because it just, I think, helps everybody reset on the very basics of business and providing value, and gets you out of that world of corporate hierarchy, et cetera, middle management. Is that, would you agree, Anthony? If you're king, would you do that?
I would say everybody should go be a waiter at a restaurant or a waitress.
That's true. Yeah, exactly.
But way better education. You have to sell. You have to serve. You have to take guff.
You'll be dirty. Yeah.
You'll get dirty. You have to. It's hard work. Like, everybody should be a server, or a waiter, or a busboy, or even a cook, a fry cook, and everybody should do that kind of work in order to understand. And there's a lot of corollaries between serving food at a restaurant and entrepreneurship.
Great.
So, but should you and I may be on different minds on this, Chris. Should everybody be an entrepreneur? I don't think everybody should be an entrepreneur.
No, heavens no. I just think that they should go spend time in early stage startups to actually learn and lovingly learn business from the ground.
No, because they're going to do damage at the startup.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The founders should just be like, I get to talk, you know. All right. I want to flip the script, and this is probably the most important part of the conversation, Jan, which is, we as founders, it is like, I run Denver Founders. We've done Denver Startup Week. When you see a lonely founder come into a room full of other people, it's almost this like release of finding, like they want to just grab on and hold. We're terrible about asking for help because we have that kind of sense that we should have every answer. We should be the person who knows everything, right? Talk about what sort of help should you go look for as a founder. To Anthony's point, should I listen to everybody's advice? Because sometimes you're going to get contrary, advice from two different, very smart people. What should my process as a founder to be going seeking experts like you or just other founders for advice?
Personally, my experience is it's better to stay away from founders because a lot of them are in a negative mindset. Quarter has been down. Their team is not coming. Their product isn't. All these things. Their click-through ratios are horrible, and all blaming external factors and the market, and never looking at themselves either. And that's infectious. So be careful with what other founders you'll be around. Would be my first advice. If you go to innovative face-to-face meetups where you have quality keynote speakers and people really dive into technologies or trends, great, do that. It usually brings up an atmosphere in the room that is forward-thinking. But skip a night startup get-togethers where everybody drinks too much and complains too much. I wouldn't.
Right, it's just the full bitch session. I think it could be valuable at times, like to have a bitch session. I don't know. What do you think, Anthony?
Sure, but yeah, I'm married. You can do that at home. So,
Oh, look at Stephanie. We are such an international show. Stephanie, all the way from north of the border, and she's waving at us, but she's actually being. You guys are idiots. That's what she's Oh God, this is so bad.
so
Anthony,
no, but
what
to
do
answer
you
your
think?
question,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no,
Yeah, you continue on.
find really good at finance. Find somebody that really has brought a product to market. It could be retired, exited, could be bankrupt, but at least they had the experience. Speak with those people. Ask for mentorship is such a loaded, heavy word. But just reach out to people and say, hey, you know what? I have a few questions. Do you have 5 minutes? I'd love your opinion. And if you ask 10 people, 6 or 7 will say yes. You're going to be perfectly fine. You'll get all the inspiration. You'll get a lot of, please don't do these things. So you can still consider them because your situation might be different, but then at least you have this little warning light. So I'm not necessarily pushing founders to other founders. But as founders, you always got to find and seek people out that know things about stuff that we don't always do ourselves.
Anthony, I think it's a really good point. Like I tend to think that sometimes we do need at least that kind of emotional support with other founders. But what Jan is saying is really critical, which is take a very hard look in the mirror of what you know and what gaps you have, and then seek out people to help you learn those gaps. Has that been your experience?
No, I'm not smart.
Yeah, I just fail at the things. And
I thought that's how you found Chris.
No, I for some reason, it's hard for me to go ask for help. It's really hard for me to go ask for help.
I think it's a universal, Jan, and that's the big hurdle for I think so many founders. If you were talking to Anthony and I, and you knew that we were both terrible at finance, which we are,
well,
how would you go? How would you suggest that we get over sort of this? I love giving help, but asking for help is really hard. I mean, I'm supposed to be the expert here.
Sorry, did you ask Anthony or me?
No, you. Yeah, you're going to coach us right now, live. This is it. We need some.
All right. So, when I was a kid, like really young, my dad was very commercial as well. He was a salesperson as well, and he taught me because we have this saying in the Netherlands. It says, "Kinderen die vragen worden overgeslagen." Anthony might know what it means.
Yeah, Anthony's got
translated
that. Can you translate, Anthony, please.
No, there's no translating.
All right.
I love the pregnant pause.
Sorry, I assumed it was a rhetorical question, which it should have been.
The saying is, kids who ask for whatever it is, they'll be passed over. So, and then the drawing would be like there's 10 kids, they're all nice, and one would be nagging for candy, but no. And then when the candy route comes, everybody gets except for that nagging. You shouldn't ask for shit. And my dad said that's the biggest lie in our whole world of phrasings, because if you don't ask for it, you'll never get it. And that stuck with me from the beginning. So whether it's asking for an order when I'm in or whether it's asking for help or whether it's asking for advice or whatever, it's the fastest way forward.
It's Anthony, our old friend Jay Mays taught me something years ago, and it's called the Benjamin Franklin effect, which is Benjamin Franklin would go to his enemies, his adversaries, and ask for a favor. He would ask them to borrow a book. Like, I hear you got this book. I'd really love to read that. And he did it because he realized something really important, which is when you ask for a favor, you become more likable. It's a weird phenomenon, but it's a great way to coach founders to say, hey, look, you're actually just getting people to be more invested in you and your startup by asking them for a favor. It's still hard to kind of get over that mental barrier, but I've always stuck with me that the Benjamin Franklin effect, that you just ask for ask for favors and you'll actually become more likable. All right, we need to move into the speed round, but Jan, if you're coaching Anthony and I and helping us try to figure out how to go get help, where do I go do this? Where do I start a community of founders? Where do I go and start to connect with people? You already mentioned LinkedIn, terrific place. Where else can I go and try to connect?
You just Google on what happens in your city for founders and startups. There's going to be 2 or 3 meetup every week or every month. Some of them will be very interesting on a topic, some of more leisure. I would choose the first one, but second ones are nice. But that's always a great thing to start. And I would really advise to start something yourself. Founder dinner sounds really fancy, but if you invite people, invite 20 people, 8 will actually show up. So yes, it will cost you about 400 or 500 euros. Save up those people, that network that you built, they will help you throughout the year, getting other connections, getting inspiration, maybe a co-founder that you were looking for all this time. Somebody might give you, found their first client, and then you're finally off to the races. So if there's not something in real life laid out for you, then go create it yourself.
Anthony, he just actually revealed my secret. So I started Denver Founders because I wanted to learn. It was selfish. It was not about the community. I just wanted to hang out with other founders, and I knew that I didn't know, as opposed to going out and trying to have all these individual conversations. I was like, hey, Anthony, you want to come talk in front of, I don't know, probably 5 people the first time you came to Denver? But like,
have I told you have I mentioned the paratrooper story on the podcast yet?
I think it was like the first episode. So go ahead, tell the paratrooper story, and then we'll move into.
So there's this on the Carson show. Johnny Carson was sharing this story about a reporter interviewing paratroopers in World War II. It's an old film footage, and this reporter's going around paratroopers and saying, why do you want to be a paratrooper? And he talks to the first guy's, the true testosterone. I want to jump out of airplanes. I like the adventure. Second guy, same thing. Third guy, same thing. Fourth guy, why do you want to be a paratrooper? Why do you like jumping out of airplanes? And the guy says, I'm terrified of jumping out of airplanes. And the reporter took a beat and said, well, this is a volunteer gig. Did you volunteer? He's like, yeah, I volunteered. And he said, well, if you're scared of jumping out of airplanes and you knew what this was about, why did you jump? Why did you sign up? And he said, well, because I just want to hang around guys that like jumping out of airplanes. and that is why you should go hang out with other entrepreneurs, because they're fun.
It's fun. And there's never been that I hang out with a founder that I don't learn something. All right. Jan, are you ready for this speed round? I'm not going to screw up the graphic.
Oh, you're muted. There you are. You were muted. Why? I couldn't hear a thing you were saying, Chris.
I just feel like I crushed that graphic.
Okay.
The graphic was
All right,
sick.
Jan. Yeah. Speech drives better founder outcomes.
The first one.
Investing money in other founders or investing time and expertise, which generates higher returns? For you, probably both.
Yeah,
The second, all right.
It's good to find an equilibrium. You can do cash and shares, but I would go for the second one.
All right, sounds good. Supporting founders in your industry or founders in adjacent markets. And I'll also say locally, is it better to do that in your city, or could you do it nationally and internationally?
For me, it doesn't matter. If you know the industry, it helps, but I coach founders on other things. So it's industry, it's loose from the industry.
Got it. Public founder support through content or private founder support through one-on-one coaching, which builds stronger business advantages?
Oh, the first one is very important.
I love it. Really good conversation. Jan, our super fan, he's watched 2 whole episodes. I mean, it's remarkable. Thank you so much for joining us, Jan. Anthony, what did you learn today? What are you taking away?
Oh, there's quite a bit here. I'll try to keep it really short. So, first of all, I wrote down why. Why do you do this? I wrote down teaching is the best way to build mastery. So this is learning from other founders by helping other founders. I wrote down 3 hows. Go to meetups, start a podcast, say yes to LinkedIn invites is one way. The next way, if you're going to help other founders, you have to start with the service first, empathetic mindset. You're there to serve them, not to feed your ego. That's really important. And then there's this very simple question that I've asked where people that is very empowering. It's just you just ask, how can I help? Just simply say, hey, is there anything that I can do to help? And the answer is usually no, but it's a great question to lead with.
We actually didn't ask that when we decided to start the podcast, Anthony, and that's probably
no. I said, here's how you can help, Chris.
That's got it. Understood. Deep dive recommendations. Adam Grant has a ton of good stuff on what you just talked about, which is teaching for learning, give and take. There's a really good article from Have a Business Review, the economics of peer-to-peer business networks. So much data now about this idea of loose connections and having, how powerful that can be. There's a podcast, we haven't talked about it a ton, but it's called How I Built This with Guy Raz. Mm-hmm. And it's an NPR podcast, really great podcast. There's several episodes that he's done, and you just need to search on the power of mentorship and founder collaboration. And the reality is he tries to cover that in almost every single one of his episodes. So really powerful stuff. Jan, how do we get in touch? How do we hang out with you? How do we get some of this amazing wisdom and knowledge from I'm going to reach over your head into our head.
Yes. So easiest links to either the companies or social media profiles you'll find on my personal website, name.com. Can't miss it. And otherwise, just connect me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Happy to take a chat. Happy to help more founders.
That is incredible. I'm stalling because I think Anthony had the banner for the thing. No.
Sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
God, not the best co-host for nothing, folks. There it is.
There you go.
Wow. Morning, Anthony.
Sorry, Chris. Thank you for reminding me. Sorry about that one.
That's all good.
I got one question, Chris. Have you guys ever considered doing shows as well without guests? Because I love being here, and you have other great guests. But I would look just the two of you chatting away at coffee.
We have done a few of those episodes early, and then by the end of it, we just devolve into screaming at each other.
No, we do. Honestly, it's a great question. Thank you for asking it. We have done episodes on our own. I started looking for guests and have, just like you, we've had such amazing response on wanting to be on the show that it's hard to say no to it's hard to say no. Right. Chris and I are going to do it on our own. So if somebody doesn't show up, hopefully Chris and I can fill it in. But lately it's just been, we've had just amazing guests. So we're booked until December with guests. It's amazing. We've just had some incredible feedback.
That Anthony keeps me doing this 3 times a week because he's just like, well, we got guests. We can't let them down. Jan, it is so good to meet you. It is so fun chatting about this stuff. It's obviously a really important topic, and I enjoyed the conversation. Encourage everybody, go connect with you on LinkedIn. Let's learn more from your awesome bearded. I just want to learn about the beard. We talked about it off air. That's what I need, some beard tips. That's what I need. Anthony, what do we have coming up? This is it for this week, but we're coming next week. We got some announcements coming up too next week.
So we're gonna be adding another host. Stephanie is gonna be joining us, which I'm really looking. So she co-hosted with Chris and I, and Chris and I both realized she was better at this than both of us combined.
And overwhelmingly, people said less of you and more of Stephanie. Really
exactly right. And on Monday, we're going to be talking about avoiding tech debt. So looking forward to that conversation with Sonia Kowtow.
We need to make sure we can only book people with last names we can say, Anthony.
Smiths. We're only allowing Smiths in.
Actually, we're just going to change Jan's last name to Smith. It's like Jan.
All right. For those of you tuning in, thank you again for joining us. Visit us at howtofounder.com and go subscribe to us on YouTube and Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to visit your podcast. We're there. Jan, thank you again so much for the great conversation. We will see you guys really soon. Take care. Bye.